Hello, everyone. This is Eric from Ntakou back for another Sunday night live stream. Welcome to all of the teachers out there or English learners coming to watch us live. My name is Eric. I'm a teacher, and every Sunday we have a live stream. This is my first live stream back after a month or so that I went traveling. So it's the old setup. You all know the old couch, my mom's pillows. The lighting is a bit better. Unfortunately, the face doesn't get better. That's the one thing that doesn't happen. And then, I'm happy to be here. And today we're going to have a fantastic show. We've got one of our great viewers and a brilliant teacher on, Marta, to talk about special needs. And I think that's so important for us as teachers. Inclusive education is very important. So if you're here, put your name and where you're from in the comments down below. And also, if you have any questions about special needs, if you want to share some stories, if you've got some things you want to talk about. Sorry, I'm touching my hair. I'm still recovering from last night, so I apologize. But we're going to have a great chat. Very important. And let's see who's here. Clark, you've been here for a while now. Hi, good to have you. And BM, I was so happy to see you last week. Hi, Eric. What's up? I hope that you spent time with your blonde girlfriend. Where do I have a blonde girlfriend? But I wanted not to drink too much because beer tummy is very big. Actually, I've been doing really well. I started going to the gym last week. I've been going to the gym for the past, for 4 days or so, and I'm going to continue. So very soon you'll be seeing very fit Eric BM. Good to see you. Before I introduce Marta, we're just going to give a couple of minutes for everyone to join. Bopini, hi. Pamela. Yuru Yagi again from it's good to see you again. Dyslexia friendly ESL. Wow, thank you so much for joining. This is probably right up your alley. Today's discussion on special needs. Hi from Sri Lanka. Kelly Crocker, United States, Kentucky. Hi, what a great intro. I like that. Lolly, hi from France. Actually, last night I spent time with my French friend. I haven't seen him in a long time, so we had a great time. I'm also excited that you guys know this, but I don't know this, but I like watching UFC. And maybe you don't care, but it's a sport I enjoy watching. And next week, there is a big UFC event. Sorry, can you guys hear me? I'm just going to put it like this. A big UFC event where there's a French fighter headlining and 2 South African fighters too. So I'm very excited for that. Mary, hi. Lena Crocker, okay. Alma from Guatemala. Iala from Sri Lanka. Cambridge, good to see you again. Courtney, hi, representing USA and Turkey. And Paul, good morning from Canada. Thank you so much. Yeah, by the way, guys, before we start with, before I bring Marta on, I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched the live stream. Unfortunately, Paul couldn't join us, but he'll definitely be on the next one if he wants. And it was a fantastic event. Great speakers. I want to thank all the teachers that came on. That came to speak. They did fantastic and they shared so much knowledge with us. And also the viewers, you guys participating. I know for one of the streams I wasn't there. I was busy flying, so I apologize for that. But I definitely, this is something I want to do every year, and we'll try and get more teachers to join and do more things in a year or so. Nalida, hi from Bolivia. My dad's here. Hello, everyone. Greetings from windy, sunny Cape. The SA women are playing the World Cup final. Wow, maybe I'll watch that. From Senegal, hi, Mester. Okay, Argentina. I'll give it another minute and then I'll introduce Marta. Ruman, hi. Imin, Ethiopia. Happy to have you. Thank you. That's so nice, Belachu. Hala, hi. Hala, good to see you. Jessica from Ecuador. Chawan, hi, and then welcome back. Yeah, everyone's so good to have you. Love to present. Yeah, I think in a year's time we do it again, and this time I'll be even better prepared. And I think that's a lesson to all of us. Sometimes we put things off because we want to be as well prepared as possible. But I just thought I had this idea 3 or 4 months ago where I thought, I've got this live stream. Why not do a festival and ask other teachers if they want to come up? And it was so much fun. Let's see, from Ukraine, hi. Good evening from Myanmar, Ben Saber. From Algeria, it's great to see such international participation with Marta. She's great. Okay, everyone, without further ado, let's introduce Marta. Marta, hi.
Hi, everyone.
How
Thank
are
you
you
for
today?
having me here. I'm great, thank you.
Okay, Marta, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. I'm Martha Ntakou from Greece. I'm an ESL teacher in Patras, Peloponnese. I've been teaching for the past 4 years now, children and adults with learning difficulties. Most of them have dyslexia, and I wanted to share my experience with you, the other teachers here.
I think, teaching something like dyslexia, especially when you come into education, can be really tough. What was some of when you first started working with? So these are adults with dyslexia
Both adults and children.
and children. Yeah, I think it's probably better to catch it earlier. But when you first
Yes.
started working with learners with with special needs, what were some of the initial difficulties that you had?
Okay. I could give you a whole list. Let me see. Okay, so um, one of the most difficult things for me was that some of the students couldn't, for example, sit on their chair.
Mm,
So those might be children that have ADHD. It's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That in combination with dyslexia can be very, very difficult to deal with. So let's say that you have a child that cannot sit on the chair. What do you do? My colleague Amalia from Dyslexia Friendly, who texted before, helped me very, very much in this. First, you have to set some rules. For example, you can allow them to walk around the classroom, but they cannot leave the classroom, for example.
mm,
They can draw. They can draw on the board, but they cannot draw on the walls. So very basic rules, but for them, um, uh, are not, they're not taken for granted for those children that have ADHD. Sorry, I'm super nervous.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think I started
Yeah,
with a very difficult and broad question, but yeah,
it's okay.
I think what you're mentioning is like building these structures for them to help them. But whereas if a new teacher went in and you had these students that they don't want to sit still or they have trouble concentrating, maybe we think, oh, they need more freedom, or we don't know what boundaries to set because we really feel for them. We care about them, we want them to do well, so maybe we don't want to be as strict, but actually they do need boundaries, but just a little bit different. So I'm going
Yeah,
to take a step back because I think that question was unfair and very broad, and I can
it's
see
okay.
we've got lots of viewers here coming. Bonnie, Esther, hello, good to see you. Let's start at the very beginning, something simple. Now, what does special needs mean? What does special needs, or when it comes to learners, what does that mean?
Okay, I'm not going to give you an official definition because I'm not the specialist to talk about it, but I'm going to give you my own definition. Special needs for me is something that goes beyond the normal, the average. For example, a child that is super smart has special needs because you have to give them more advanced exercises to do in the classroom. So that is special need for me as well. This is what I can say as,
and, and and and
if
so
I put it
special
in very
needs.
simple words. Yeah.
Well, that's perfect. I think simpler is better. That they need extra help. There are many different types of special needs out there. You mentioned dyslexia, but what are some of the others that that teachers might encounter or probably will encounter while they're teaching?
Mhm. Yeah. There are a lot. I'm going to tell you four that I've I've come across so far. It's
Mm,
ADHD, it's autism, dyslexia, and borderline intelligence. So if you want to say a few things about each of them, I would say that ADHD is As I said before, it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It means that someone cannot stay still for a long time. It's not easy for them to stay concentrated. They want to move around, they want to touch things, and stuff like that. Borderline intelligence is that someone is not very super smart, but they can learn, but they have, let's say, a limit in what they can learn.
Mm. So
Then
having
autism, yeah,
realistic standards for those students is important.
yes, absolutely, yes. Autism is a brain condition that affects the development of social and communication skills. There are severe cases of autism and slight ones. So those people um, don't cannot make friends easily. They cannot feel what other people feel. They cannot. Uh, what else? Let's see. Um, they cannot feel emotions about others, like compassion.
Mm.
And dyslexia is the thing that I'm most familiar with. Dyslexia is a processing issue. So the information that is taken in needs more time to process and more time to process out.
Mm.
It has nothing to do about intelligence or yeah, it has nothing to do about intelligence. It's how information is taken in, processed, and then processed out. 1 in 5 students exhibit some symptoms of dyslexia, so it's a huge number of students. Maybe the numbers are not the same in every country. I don't know the numbers in every country, but if you tell me that you have never met a child with dyslexia, I will not believe you. It's impossible. We usually
Mm.
see children that have special needs, and we assume that they are lazy or that they are stupid, but this is not the case. Those children are usually more intelligent than others.
That's a great mindset to have because I know that a lot of old school teachers, they used to think that the only cure for someone that has ADHD or can sit still or can focus or maybe they think if a student has trouble reading that they're lazy or that maybe they're not intelligent, but and then they think the only thing you need to do is beat students or just force them. And I think it's not about forcing them to do it. It's about having perhaps a different approach. Now, you said that you mainly deal with or dyslexia, and we can see dyslexia friendly ELS here.
I
Now,
am Maria.
you shared and says also one of the most difficult things to do is to understand what it is like to be dyslexic. Now, you shared a link with me, and this is a dyslexia simulation by Harvard. Can you explain what that is? And I'll quickly post it in the comments. If anybody wants to check it out, you can go and check this out. What is this link? The
Okay, so
simulator.
if you click on that link, you're going to see the text that shows how dyslexic people read, how difficult it is for them to read. You're going to see the letters moving around, and it makes it almost impossible to read. So you can try it out later if you want.
Okay, well, let's try this step by step. There are many special needs, but let's focus on dyslexia for a second. You have a student. You said so many students have it to varying
Yes.
degrees. Now, how would you go about helping a student with dyslexia? What kind of rules would you have? What kind of activities would you do with them? How would you deal with such a student?
Okay, that depends on each student because all of them have, they don't all share the same characteristics. Each of them is unique. Um, we have to teach. For example, let's say that we teach reading. Okay, it's impossible for them. If you click on the link, you're going to understand what I mean. It's impossible for them to read, for example, large paragraphs. I'm going to give you an example of a very short text. Let's say, for example, that we give them this text to read, okay? It's going to be very hard for them. Sorry, here. to read all these paragraphs one after the other. So what you want to do is take a piece of paper, for example, and cover some part of the text. So if they are here, they're going to read the first sentence, then move on to the next one, and so on. So a simple thing like that can really make the difference. So if they are able to read, of course. When we talk about junior students, we have to work a lot with phonics, and we have to work for years with phonics because, as you already know, the English language has 26 letters, but much more sounds. So it's very, very difficult for them to match the letters to the sounds.
Yeah, I know. I think it's so important. So I'm actually it's not like I specialize in phonics, but I plan on making a phonics video in the future because I think it's very important, especially for younger learners. I think what I gather from what you're saying also is that we should have high expectations of our students that even if they have difficulty. They've got needs and they've got difficulties learning, that if we can just apply ourselves like something simple by stopping them from taking in too much information by covering up the letters, something simple like that can really help them. And I think we just have to go a step further when we think about how we're going to help our students. Okay. Now tell me, we've got some questions here. Let's quickly go through. We've got Ntakou, hi from South Africa. Interesting topic. Thank you. I'm a therapist and I'm glad to have these conversations. Yeah. So difficult to teach pupils, let alone those who suffer from dyslexia. They are compulsive and it's hard to handle them. What can you say about that? Like, being compulsive, like a lot of students, maybe they're so used to, they want to do if they're dyslexic or even if they just have one of these compulsive disorders. Have you faced something like that in the past? And how would you deal with something like that?
Okay, you have to give the student time, and you have to give them the space to speak up and express what they need. So, for example, if a student doesn't want to do an activity, you have to give them options. Okay, do you want to do it orally? Do you want to do it through a game? You can say that not doing anything is not an option. So you give them options. You give them time. You can ask them, do you need a couple of minutes to relax or to take to drink some water or anything, something that can help them release stress because students are very stressed in the classroom. So yeah, you give them options. This is what comes first to my mind.
Okay, yeah, no, options perfect. It's a differentiation, and I think what you also say. I feel like I'm just repeating what you're saying, but being patient with your students, and that is difficult, especially as teachers. We've got these timelines, things that we have to
Yes.
cover, and you've got a whole class. So you might have many students in the class, and then you've got some students that need more attention or a different approach, and they perhaps due to these compulsive disorders they don't want to do certain activities. They're like, no, I won't do this. And so by giving them different options instead of being a brick wall and saying this is I'm going to force you to do something, rather give them different options. Now what would you do with this is the biggest problem for teachers, is they've got big classes, they've got many students, and yet we still have to work. We've got a few students in class that, sorry about my hair, they've got a few students in class that need extra attention. How do you go about that?
Okay, so I only teach small classes because it's
Mm.
impossible to have all students with dyslexia and have large classes. It's impossible. But I would say one thing, um, from what I've heard from other teachers, you can have a secret language with some of those students that really have um, difficulties in learning. You can have a secret language, for example, when they are when they really need to go out and take some air, they might make a gesture, or they touch their nose or touch their ear or something like that. Or maybe when they need help, they can give a different gesture so that the teacher goes close to their desk and helps them. In that way, they don't feel that they're on the spot and everyone is going to stare at them.
Yeah, I would also say, it takes practice. So first, I think prepare for students. If first you're going to meet your students and you're going to start learning, or what needs they have. What do they call it? So you're going to figure out what needs they have, and then perhaps you can plan some fail safes, some things in the lesson that, oh, if a student can't do this, or they don't want to do this, maybe we have a different approach. So first, create some extra ideas that you can use, some variations. And then what you should also remember is that, teaching is a skill. And the more you do these extra variations, or you allow for different activities, then it's you're going to get better at it, because you're repeating. It's like driving a car. The first time you drive a car, you need to focus on everything, and you're nervous, and you've got to pay attention. But then later it becomes automatic. You listen to the radio, you drink a coffee while you're driving. And it's the same with teaching. So first you prepare, you plan some extra things, and then as you start to implement it in the class, it should become easier. And then BM, one of our great viewers, asks, do you think using the stick is useful in some cases? Let's see. Marta, what do you think? Where's your stick? Do you have a massive stick somewhere that you beat the students with?
Of course not. Okay, so I wanted to add something about planning. Planning helps a lot, but with children that face difficulties, you should be very, very flexible. There might be really bad days that you cannot do a normal lesson. So in that case, what do? You just play with them, you just sing with them, you just dance with them, anything. So you have to be very flexible. Online games are a very good alternative when you are in those bad days. Actually, I use online games in every lesson because I use it to practice vocabulary. For example, the website Games to Learn English is very, very helpful because they learn vocabulary through pictures and through games. Because giving a dyslexic child or an adult a list of words that they have to memorize is impossible. Memory is a tough issue for them because you might say something and forget it in a couple of minutes, and then you have to say it again and again they forget it. But if you give them games, if you give them music, dance, movement in general, it helps them memorize better.
Well, that's great advice. I like that. And yeah, great websites are really fun. But when I think about this, I think these tips for teaching students with special needs, these are just general good teaching. Well, it is general good teaching practice. It's
Yes.
what you would do even if you didn't have students with special needs. All students are different, so you're going to start using these things. You're going to make class fun. You're going to try and motivate them. You're going to use different approaches, and you're going to be more patient with your student. I think there's one more thing that I want to add to this, and it's very important to work on relationships with these students, that they know they can trust you, that they know that you've got their best interest at heart, and that that you want the best for them. So you should constantly, have, if it's possible, have a quick chat with your students, check in with them now and again, build rapport. And what are some of the things that how do you build your relationships with the students? So just to give you a quick question like that.
It depends on their age, but when a new student comes to our school, the first thing that I have to do is convince them that they are not stupid, that they are not useless. And this takes a lot of time because they are convinced that they are not worth as much as others, and this is very, very sad to see. So I have to work with their confidence. I have to make them understand every day that making mistakes is not only okay, but we need mistakes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this job. I would do something else. So that takes a lot of time. It takes months or maybe years. Um, Now, depending on their age, you can say different things to come closer to them. For teens, I usually tease them about girlfriends or boyfriends, so yeah, they feel more relaxed.
Right.
With yeah, with younger students, a hug is enough. It depends on the age.
I like the teasing one. Obviously, I warn teachers to use teasing sparingly. It should be done with, and sarcasm should be something that you don't really do with students unless you're getting closer to them. But I had a funny situation in my class last semester. So a girl was absent, and 2 weeks prior. So I was like, "Oh, okay. So why were you absent?" "Oh, I had to go somewhere." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then another boy was absent. And I said, "Oh, you were absent too? Were you guys going together?" And then and they would just blush, and the rest would laugh. So yeah, there are opportunities like that in class. Now, here we've got a question. I've got a question by Hafidi. I'll get to that in a second. But Vanina asks, "Do you use capital letters or lowercase when writing on the board?" I was told that lowercase is better for dyslexic learners.
We use both. By the way, I want to do an activity
Let's
with
do it.
you, interactive activity. So very often ask students to copy from the board, right? How difficult can it be? So I've written these three sentences here. Let's see if you can read it. Mary went to Paris last weekend. She was thrilled to see the Eiffel Tower. She tried croissants and freshly baked baguettes. So I'm going to ask you to copy this on a piece of paper. So please grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. But as
A
you're,
second.
yeah, but as you're doing it, I want you to replace, I want you to replace all A's with a U, all T's, sorry, all T's with an F, and vice versa, all F's with a T, all
Mhm.
B's with a D, all D's with a V, all L's with an I, N's with an H, H's with an N, and G with an I. This is
Okay, I'm
what
going
it
to do the
means to
first
copy.
sentence. I want to see how quick it goes. But am I allowed to copy it first, or should I just do it immediately from the
Now you
board?
have to do it immediately. Yes.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Is there an M? I don't see an M, so M stays the same. U is there an R? R stays the same. Y. I don't see any Y's. Went W. No W. So and then E. Is there an E? No. So E. Uh, sorry, guys. I'm very slow apparently. H. T and T is F. Ooh, this is a strange thing I'm writing down. Another F, and then the A. Wait. Where am I now? Oh, F. O. No O. Paris. No P. So big P. A. U. R is H. Is wait, N is H. There's no R.
Yes.
Okay, and then I. No I. Oof, okay, Paris and the S. Okay, well, I'm going to write it like this. So, sorry, you
I
guys get
think
to see this.
I think you're
Murray.
getting the point.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So this is what it feels like when children with dyslexia copy from the board. They often confuse letters with other letters. So it's
Mm,
when you think that they have to do it in 2 minutes, they need 5 minutes or more.
mm. Very nice. So if you have a student with difficulty like that might make these errors, you want them to encourage them to spend more time and to go through it again. But would you pair them up with a partner and say, okay, guys, I want you to check your partner's work maybe and just double check it before the end? Would you do something like that?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Especially when we do something about spelling. I I often ask them to correct each other's mistakes or correct their own mistakes, and then I tell them that I don't want to hear about how many mistakes they made. I want to hear about how many correct words they wrote. So they're forbidden to say the mistakes, and they always put a tick in the correct words, but not an X in the incorrect ones. And I always make them write well done to themselves. I always give them stickers. That goes for younger students, of course. So yeah, it helps because it's what I said before, that they need time to realize that making mistakes is okay. It's part of the learning procedure.
I love that idea. So you're building their confidence and you're making them happy to be there and focusing on the positives. I think so. I always forget her name. What's her name? The growth mindset. I was just writing an article on her. Who wrote that? Let me quickly check out my website where I wrote this article. So, Carol Dweck. Okay, yeah. So Carol Dweck, she wrote that book. She's that professor that studied the growth mindset, and it's such a simple premise that we don't have a fixed mind, and students aren't just don't have a fixed intelligence or a fixed way a level that they can reach. It's they've got a growth mindset. They're able to learn and learn new things, and it's such a simple mindset shift. But I think it's so important for us to teach our students that, so always bring it up and tell them, I don't care how many mistakes you made. Tell me how many you got right. So we've got a comment here a little bit earlier from Hafidi. Thank you so much for discussing such an important topic. After detecting that I've got some students suffering from dyslexia, how would you deal with them along with all the other students in class? I think we covered that one before, but is there something extra that we could add that we perhaps missed?
Well, depending on the age, some students might not want the other students that they have dyslexia. At some point, they're going to accept it because it's not an easy thing to accept. But let's say that they have already accepted it. You have to bring the situation in the classroom as something normal. Everyone gets what they need. My needs are different from yours anyway. So everyone is unique and everyone gets what they need.
Oh, that's a beautiful comment. Yeah, we shouldn't forget the other students in class, and we should teach them that some of their friends might need some more time, and you as the teacher, you're going to help everyone, but sometimes you need to spend some time with these students, and so we're going to teach our students how to be more caring and thoughtful of others in class. So we've got some great ones here. Luza Ang says, not just for autistic children, all children need to understand that making mistakes is all right, but they need to realize where those mistakes come from. Yeah, so focus on improving. And then we've got Michelle here. She says, as a mom who has a child with special needs, I so appreciate this. Huge thank you to Marta for sharing so many practical tips. And thank you to Eric for hosting. Nice. Thank you so much, Michelle. How about you, Marta? If any ideas for if you had if some tips that you can give parents how they can work with their kids or help them. So if you have a student with special needs, dyslexia or autism, what tips would you give the parents? How can they work with their kids?
Okay, so parenting is a very difficult situation. Most parents need a lot of time to accept that their child needs something different than what is expected according to their age. So we see parents very often that have a denial. They don't want to accept that their child, for example, has a ADHD or dyslexia or anything. But after they have accepted this, what they need to do is to consult an educational therapist and a speech language pathologist. So those are two different specialties. The educational therapist is going to help the student uh, by giving them techniques that they can improve how they do at school, and the speech language pathologist uh, is is helping students that have um, pronunciation problems, for example, they stutter or they whisper, things like that. So they have to consult specialists. They have to talk to the school principals because they are the ones that are going to guide the teachers, and they have to do a lot of research about the laws uh, in the country that they live in, because laws are not the same everywhere, and unfortunately in some countries these cases are not predicted in the law system. And
Very
also
nice.
another thing, another thing that I want to say about parents is that um, don't put more pressure on your children. um, Accept what they are and love them for what they are, and accept the fact that this is how it is going to be. You shouldn't try and change them and make them like everyone else. Nobody should be like everyone else. I can't imagine a world where everyone is the same to others. We wouldn't be humans, we would be robots.
I see. I love that idea. Yeah. The greatest the greatest thing a parent can do for their child is to spend time with them. So even just 10 minutes before bed, maybe reading a book and giving them attention. I think it's the best thing, positive attention. So yeah, it's going to be difficult for parents to deal with it, but I think if you can encourage the parent to sit just 10 minutes a day, just reading a book with your child, spending time with them, asking them questions. I think there are some questions that parents should ask their kids every day. Well, how was school? What did you learn? How are things going with your friends? So these types of questions, they instead of watching a TV show or at dinner, I think dinner is a great time to have these conversations. So talk with your kids, give them attention, and help them. But one of the issues I have, and I remember this was my first year of teaching, second year, first year, can't remember. But we had Parents' Day, so many parents would join, and so I was in grade 4. So our grade head was a fantastic teacher and a great teacher, math teacher. And so I remember a parent came in, the child struggled, and she suggested using what is it called again? The medicine, the retinol. Anyway,
Right now,
it's
yes.
yeah. So she suggested the child take that, and she explained that if the child takes it, then it kind of opens their mind and they can read things and see clearly and they can focus and stuff. And I don't know, even though she was a great teacher and did many amazing things, I dislike that time of education where kids were just peppered with medicine to try and fix it. That's my. I'm not a doctor, no, but I just felt like too many kids got told that they've got problems and they need this medicine to be able to function. And yeah, it didn't feel right to me. What is your opinion on that?
It's not right. uh, we see these conditions as sickness or disability, and it's not the case. They just need something, a different approach. This is all they need, a different approach. So teachers shouldn't be lazy, because at the end of the day, teachers are the ones who are lazy. We should come up with new ideas and new ways to help those children. Medicine is not going to make a difference because they are born this way.
Mm.
Their brain
And
works in a different way than the others.
and they can still succeed. They can not just succeed, they can prosper if they just have the
Of
right
course.
help. I remember I was listening to this audio book. What's that? It's this guy that's David Goggins. So
Mhm.
David Goggins, he's this Navy SEAL, and he talks about waking up and exercising and doing things. But one part of his book that really touched me is that he said that when he was younger, he had two teachers. The first teacher didn't really care and was just strict and didn't put in any extra effort. But then there was one teacher that changed his life, where she was strict, but she said, "Listen, we're going to get through this. We're going to work hard. We're going to practice, and you will succeed." And he took that and he used that idea in his life. That thing she taught him, that you just work hard and you practice, and maybe you change your approach a little bit to a company to help do things easier, but just that you can improve without perhaps doing that. Okay, now that brings me to the next question that Kelly provides. She's got such a great question here.
Hi,
So could you
Kelly.
address ways in which dyslexic learners might have certain advantages over the more typical learners? So not just looking at them as having a disability or being behind or being weaker than normal students, but how might this actually help them a lot?
Okay, so I want to say hi to Kelly and Lina. They are a couple of retired teachers from Kentucky, USA. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the great question. So all this time we're talking about difficulties, and we're not mentioning the advantages that those students have. So those children are really, really creative. They are great dancers. They are great painters. They are great writers. Kelly's and Lina's daughter is a teacher that is doing a great job with creative writing in a school in Kentucky. So they are very creative creatures, and they think out of the box, and we need people that think out of the box. They take the whole society, they move the whole society forward. So yeah,
Mm.
they're special creatures.
Excellent. I also there's also something to be said that so they have to learn, or they need a little bit. They need special attention. They need some different ways of approaching the work and the studies that they do. But also going through perhaps some of those difficulties will make them stronger in the long
Of
run.
course.
Because they will get confidence, even though I've been helped this I've been dealt these cards. I managed to overcome it, and they get stronger, and it builds their confidence. So yeah, we should see these things. We should help our students understand that even though you might have these difficulties, you also have other things that you're going to excel at, and that it will be amazing. So and get confidence from those, and work on these weaker areas that you can definitely improve if you use the time and the
Yeah,
effort.
and
And we've
they
got a
work
nice,
really, really hard. Sorry.
yeah.
They work really, really hard. So the least we can do is give them space and time.
Yeah, and a lot of encouragement and motivation, but it made me think of, like, we as teachers, we should be our students' biggest cheerleaders too. Just
Yes.
the image comes to my head of when my brothers and I were playing rugby when we were younger. My parents would always come and watch. My mom was always on the sideline, screaming, shouting, running up and down. And then, it was a bit embarrassing, but we were always grateful that whenever they could come and watch. And
Yes.
thankfully, later she always came to watch, but she calmed down a little bit. So I think we as teachers, we should talk to our students, we should encourage them, and we should help them too. Now we've got a nice comment here. Parents should boost their offspring's self-esteem and take it for granted that they're going to shine, irrespective of being suffering from dyslexia and so forth. Okay. Let's we've got a different question here, but I'd like to answer it and look at it. Mariam says, I had my first meeting with a class and it was bad. How can you fix it? Okay, this is I don't think this is specifically about special needs, but as a teacher, if your first encounter with your class was really bad, how would you go about fixing it?
Okay, the truth is that you might not be able to fix it at the time. So you might want to endure it the whole time and see what went wrong. and come up with something different next time. So it takes time to see what you can do differently.
I think we should give the same advice of, like, just practice. Just know that it's going to get better. So the first class was difficult. Analyze it. Look at rationally instead of. I think so many times emotionally we react to it. So we're like, "Oh, that class was so bad. I don't want to see them again. I dislike the students." So I think you should take a step back and rather be logical about it. Look at, okay, well, what are the things that went wrong? What can I do to improve? So, if you've got a terrible, if the students were horrible, what are some ways that you can fix it? How can you start your class better? What activities could you try? And start implementing them. And you can also be realistic. You tell the students, listen, guys, the first meeting went really poorly. These are the things I want to work on, and we're going to do that in class. We're going to fix it. So I don't think you should have an emotional reaction to it. I think you should be logical and then think of ways that you can implement it to be better. Okay, now here we've got some. So we've been talking about dyslexia. What about borderline intelligence? Now, this
Mhm.
is, I think, this is an interesting one because a lot of people would say, well, you can't fix intelligence. Someone's just going to be dumb or they're going to be very smart. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't call them dumb, but um, as you said before, having lower expectations from those students helps us because we don't take it personally when they don't manage to do all the things that we expect them to do.
Mm.
So we know their limits, we know they're going to learn, but it takes a lot of repetition, a lot of time, a lot of interactive activities, maybe games as well. But you know that there's going to be a limit. So when I teach English to those children, I know that they might learn, for example, past simple, but they might not understand past participle or past continuous. So things like that. You know what to expect, but it's totally okay because they will be able to communicate in English anyway. So it doesn't matter. It's okay.
Mhm. I think I remember I read this book while I was at university, Barriers to Learning, and I like that idea of barriers to learning. It sounds kind of nice because it doesn't mean they are. A barrier is something that can be moved and can be changed, and so if we tell our students that it's going to be difficult, but I've got very high expectations, but realistic expectations of what you can achieve, and we're going to do the best we can. So I want you to also have high expectations of yourselves, and then just those barriers that they will encounter, prepare for them, and then also encourage them to try and push further on. And like you said before, some of the activities that you mentioned, making it fun, a fun process along the way will also make it a lot easier. So we've got
Yes.
another comment here. Thanks, Marta, for using that exercise to show us what it feels like being in their shoes when they try to read or write. Let's look at that a little bit. So Marta, you work with a lot of these students. And you showed us this great exercise. What about some of these other things? How do you think those students actually see the classroom and learning? If you kind of imagine yourself in their shoes, or what would a day in the life be like for someone with borderline intelligence or ADHD? How do you imagine that being for them?
Okay, someone with borderline intelligence might not be aware of their situation, but children with dyslexia, for example, very often feel useless. I have a specific student that comes to my mind right now that says, I'm not good at anything. I'm useless at everything. I can't do anything good. I'm 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 always late when I write. I'm always late when I read. I need more time than others. And I always have to convince him that's okay, because you might need more time to write a sentence, but you make the fewer mistakes. So that's okay. Yeah, it's not easy for them to try and find something positive in all that situation. It's
Mm.
difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's what is that quote? The comparison is the thief of joy, where these
Mm,
students might be comparing their ability to their friends, and
exactly.
they
Yes.
might be comparing their situation, their living situation. They can say, oh well, uh, I don't have those books, I don't have the fancy calculator, I don't have, my parents aren't supportive enough, or I've got these.
Yes.
It's my friend can read so well, but it's so when I try and read the letters move around, or or I
Yes.
struggle to identify and learn what the letters are. So they might be comparing themselves to their classmates, and
They
we
do.
should discourage our students from doing this. So we can tell them, look, you can look at your classmates and be admire them for their strengths or the things they do well, but do not put yourself down by comparing yourself to them. Rather compare yourself to yourself, rather compare you to yourself, yesterday or something like that. So
Exactly.
yeah, we should
Yes.
discourage our students from comparing them to each other. And I know a lot of
Yes.
teachers do this. They're like, oh, why can't you be like this student, she's so kind and pretty and stuff, or she works so hard,
Yeah.
so
Parents
yeah, we
do
should
that as
not.
well.
Sorry.
Parents do that as well, and it's devastating for the child.
Yeah, parents do that. Yeah, we should tell our parents. I think yeah, we should definitely teach our, or well, perhaps send a letter to our parents. Let you have high expectations of your kids, support them, help them, but don't make them feel bad for not doing the same as or doing as well as someone else. Okay, we've got some really nice messages here. Shif, hi. Afsana from Saudi Arabia. And Kelly says, I think we all have borderline intelligence in some way. Definitely. Have me try to repair a car, and you might wonder about my mental state. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that I've got a lot of weaknesses in what I do in life, but we all try and improve it. Marta, we've got 8 minutes left. You know that. So
Yes, that's I see it.
yeah, no, it usually goes very quickly. Tell us about what you're busy with, and what you'd like, the school you're working for, and things that you'd like to do in the future. If you'd like to, by the way, guys, if you'd like to check out Marta's, I put the links to her in the description down below, so just check that out. Okay, so Marta, what are you up to? What are you going to do?
Okay, so let me see. I want to go deeper in special needs or learning difficulties. I want to study more. Um, Maybe do a course about um, how to how to help them from um, like the way that an educational therapist helps them. Maybe a course like that. Um, Then I might take a Delta course, because I did my Celta course a couple of years ago, and it's one of my goals for the future. I also want to study positive psychology, because I see that it's for me it's the only way to teach, but it's not the case. But yeah, I want to study techniques that um, promote positivity in the classroom and help children anyway.
I just love that you're continuing, your education of being a better teacher, and finding ways, especially if it aligns with your interests and what you want to work on in the future. I think that's great. Yeah, doing the Delta. One of my goals is to do the Salta one of these days. I have to go and do that. Yeah, but yeah, we'll get to it eventually. And so what about your work that you're doing right now? So can you tell us a little bit about the school and your online teaching as well?
Okay, so I teach at Dyslexia friendly ESL private school. We have small classes. We are in Patras, Peloponnese, that's midwest of Greece. So we have small classes of students, four students maximum per class. Um, we provide all these techniques that I've already mentioned. Amalie Yorielu is the founder of that private school, and she practically has taught me almost everything that I know about dyslexia because she has personal experience. Uh, so I thank her very much for everything that I've learned. Yeah, we help children locally, but I also tutor adults online. So if anyone has dyslexia or other learning difficulty, they can find me online as well. I also teach Greek. I didn't say that. I didn't mention it. I teach both Greek and English online.
Well, I'm not even going to attempt Greek. Everybody's seen my language ability when it comes to Spanish and how I struggle with it. But I'm glad
By
that
the
you're.
way, sorry to interrupt you. Spanish, it can be much easier than English for children that have dyslexia because what you see is what you read. I speak Spanish and I know that for a fact. Spanish and Italian are very easy languages for dyslexic learners. So you should encourage those that hate English, try something different. Try Spanish or Italian. It might help them.
What a great tip. And now I feel even more sad because almost half of the teachers on the channel speak Spanish and everybody. Oh, here we go. Kelly says, "Was," except for me. So I definitely have to take those classes perhaps with Bonnie Esther later. Yeah, we've got a nice one here. Okay. I'm I'm going to indulge BM. I haven't looked at any of his questions, but he's got a question for you. Are you married?
No, I'm single.
Wow, great news. BM, there you go. I'm happy to have told that to have helped him out. That's the question you get. And Luza Ang, I'm now teaching in a musical school. All the students are learning a musical instruments in the last 3 days on each week. They're going to be working on the rest of the subject. Is being just a month, but what a great experience to teach. Wonderful. Well, that's another question I have. So, what about music? Does that play a role in the way that you teach?
Yes, because it makes class more fun. I usually use the last 5 minutes to play a song, and we all sing together or dance together. Again, with my younger students, because teens don't like doing that. They feel that they've grown up and they don't want to do it. Even though they like a song, they don't want to stand up and dance or sing. So we might do something different with them. We might play a board game or something like that. Yeah, but music helps a lot, especially when you have a routine and you always play the same song. They love it. And by the way, over learning is something that we shouldn't, underestimate because, okay, let's say that they have learned the days of the week. It's okay if they practice it all the time because it gives them confidence. They know something so well that they feel confident. So that is very important. It's okay. You'll move to new material later. Let them enjoy and feel that they finally know something very, very well.
Wow, what a great idea. I feel like when it comes to music, it's one of the things that I don't really do in my class because I'm not very musical and I don't mind music, but I think especially with younger learners and older learners, it's so great for them to have music to use in your lessons and activities. I think that's fantastic, especially, on the chants that you have to do with younger learners. And it can help students, moving around, using their bodies, learning in different ways. Well, let's see. We've got DJ says here, hi from Mozambique. I'm starting my training and teaching at English at a public school, and I'm very anxious about it. Anyway, thank you for all the advice. Any ideas for someone, any anxious teachers out there starting their careers or before school?
Uh, I don't think I'm the best person to talk about it because I'm always anxious. But as you've said, preparation is very important because
Mm,
it reduces the amount of stress that you have. Also being flexible, so you have a plan, but keep in mind that that plan might fail. So you have
mm.
to have a backup plan.
Yeah, and I think when we were talking about growth before, if you know that just by if you know that by spending time and practicing, you will get better, and it's just another day. It's not. It's if you don't do well during your day, it's not a failure. It's just an opportunity to grow.
Yes.
Well, Marta, I want to thank you so much for coming on. We have lots of people saying thank you here too. It was a pleasure,
Thank you
and you
for
taught
having
us
me.
so much.
Thank you. And thank you for all the content that you upload. I've learned so much from you, and I'll continue learning because I'm a new teacher as well. So thank you
Well,
very
thank you
much.
so much. I'm going to work on my Spanish. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.